Welcome back, crew, to Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. I guess in boating, sometimes you do have to be MacGyver. If you have a close call and things go wrong, you may have to MacGyver a way to keep that boat afloat, just like this guy did. But welcome back, crew, to this episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. Now, it doesn't take much. Close calls sometimes can go drastically wrong, and things will be really bad like we saw in the last clip or this clip, and sometimes close calls will be no more than just a wipe of sweat from your brow. But one thing's certain, out there on the water, when you're boating, close calls are going to happen, and one thing you need to be prepared for is that most people are not always going to do what you expect them to do when they're out there on the water boating. Now, close calls can occur in many ways. Sometimes there's set up close calls where people are trying to do something in a tight spot, like possibly trying to squeeze a big vessel into a tight boat slip, or maybe taking your vessel down a very narrow, shallow waterway, or using that old saying, trying to fit a square peg in a circle hole. Sometimes it just doesn't work, and other times it works just fine. But the most common close calls you'll probably have in boating are going to be those fluke close calls, where you think everything's going to be just fine. You're not trying to do anything crazy, and the next thing you know, things get a little out of hand and things go wrong. Definitely no matter what your plans are in boating, you always got to roll with the punches and kind of go with the flow, no matter how simple your plans are. Literally your plan could be just as simple as, I'm going to go down to the boat. You head down to the marina, expect you're going to put the key in the ignition, start the motor, hit the throttle and go, and that plan's just not going to work out in your favor sometimes because maybe you forget some of the little things. Now, sometimes things may look good. It may look like your day did go exactly as you planned. You went out there, had the family with you, you and the crew hit the water, enjoyed your day of boating. But you gotta remember, things can still change in the last second. Just because you're almost done doesn't mean you're done. Pulling back into the marina, things can still go wrong. Now, of course, another one of those things that can cause plenty of close calls out on the water, that's gonna be the old weather. It's bound to happen. If you boat long enough, you're going to run into that situation where you find yourself racing against the weather to get home so you don't get hit by it. Speaking of getting hit by things, another one of those fluke things that can happen in boating if you don't wear the safety kill switch. Now, one way to avoid some of those unexpected hits out on the water is to never approach anything any faster than you're willing to hit it. Now, that's not always possible because some things in the water are hidden. Kind of like those pesky sandbars, which makes it a little more difficult to determine when you're going to wind up hitting that. But I'll guarantee one thing was definitely unexpected on this day. I'm sure there's no way that the sea tow captain woke up that morning, said, I'm going to go out to work, enjoy my day, and get stuck on a sandbar and have to have a towboat come rescue me. That is definitely an odd scene to see out on the water. You got to imagine, I guess it has to happen at some point, but still, one of those things that was definitely unexpected for this crew on this day. These images were sent in by a viewer who just happened to catch these images. Basically, they saw Cito get stuck on the sandbar, spend about 20 or 30 minutes trying to get off before finally getting on the radio and calling for a tow. Now, I wonder how this one's billed. Is this considered a courtesy tow, or does Towboat actually wind up billing Cito on this one? But speaking of unexpected surprises, that is one way to avoid some unexpected surprises, is to go ahead and make sure you have tow insurance. No, I'm not being paid by anybody to say it. In fact, I've mentioned both of the two major companies already in this video for free. But if you're going to get out there in the water, that's the cheapest insurance to make sure you don't wind up in a situation you can't get yourself out of. Because then all you got to do is make a call and somebody will come pull you off just like they're pulling this guy off. Thanks for watching, crew. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like Artie Air Clamar, Mike Ebsey, Bob Locklear, Dennis Unavis, Ryan, and Helen Grace did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.